In this video, I'm going to be talking about why I'm not worried about my stock CP4. So I do think this is a real issue that owners should be concerned about, but in general, I'm not worried about my CP4 because of three things. First is I do have a disaster prevention kit that was installed here by ARod at Power Stroke Truck Tech. So I'll leave a link to his business if you want to check him out and have him install something to protect your fuel system. The second reason I'm not worried about the CP4 dying on me is I change my fuel filters regularly, and even though I put in the HSM upper and lower filters, I have stuck to the recommended micron rating for the filters. So just making sure that whether it's the Cat or the Baldwin I'm running, they match whatever Ford had spec'd in the truck originally. And then lastly, honestly, I think the biggest thing with the CP4 and the reason it fails is just lack of lubricity. And so I just run a good additive. I run Arch Oil AR6500 every fill up. And in the wintertime, I run AR6300 every fill up. And so like those three things really have me completely unconcerned about the high pressure fuel injection pump. I don't think I'd ever do a CP3 conversion, and I'm not sure that you can actually do that on these trucks. I have a 2019 6.7. Really the only other option aside from the disaster prevention kit from S&S is to do the DCR installation with their, drop-in replacement for the CP4. And I think that's a really good option if you just want to have complete peace of mind and just, forget about the CP4. But I think basic maintenance goes a really long way. And honestly, I just, after meeting Derek and talking to him and hearing how he got 900,000 miles out of a stock CP4 with just running the Ford Motorcraft additive, I was like, you can do this. You know what I mean? You have to be pretty dialed. You have to keep track of when you put your additive in, make sure you do it every tank, change your fuel filters. And if you're really stressed, spend $400 and get a disaster prevention kit. Should Ford have probably replaced these pumps with something else by now? Yes, potentially. But it really is Bosch's problem for introducing a pump that isn't really meant for the US market. It was designed for the European markets and their higher lubricity diesel fuel. And our fuel quality standards in the US are super low, and they've removed a lot of the lubricity from diesel because of all the emission regulations that started in the early 2000s. And so it's just the perfect storm of having a vehicle with a pump with really tight tolerances and fuel that's really crappy. Sorry to interrupt the video, but when we're talking about the CP4 and what you can do to protect it, lubricity in the fuel is the most important thing. I run Arch Oil for that. You can get 10% off your order at archoil.com if you use the code PSM10.
As I sit here and listen to you, I think a lot of guys may forget when we get gasoline at the pump, it says 87, 93, whatever, their tier of fuel is. When we get diesel, what's the number at the pump? It's okay, I'll wait. No, it's getting diesel. We know it's diesel, and hopefully you're paying attention to the color of the handle. And don't grab the green BP because it ain't diesel. So with that being said, because we do not know the cetane rating, just like Harry's talking about, conditioning the fuel, heavy dope that fuel. There is an unknown, and that is the fuel in that tank. We can't see. How many of you guys are getting a clear glass jar, and out of everybody at Buc-ee's or wherever you're filling up at these high flow traffic fuel stations, you're the only guy pumping diesel into their clean glass container and doing your test strips and looking at the cloudy, looking at sediment. Dope your fuel, because we don't know what we're getting. And I am going to go back to my electric repair, and that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, you heard the man. Dope your fuel. I mean, for real though, like that is the man, and that's why I'm not worried, like I said before, about my CP4. Like, yes, I have protection, which ARod installed, and that's, I think, like kind of a bare minimum thing you can do. But there's plenty of people running these trucks that don't even have a disaster prevention kit. They're just putting the additive in, So It's a small thing, and I know, you know, it was awesome back when diesels were like tractors and you could just throw home heating oil in them and run them and they would just do what they were supposed to, you know, without all this fancy mumbo jumbo that we have now. But that is unfortunately not the world we live in. Now, I do want to make clear, I am not saying that you should not upgrade to a DCR. If you want to and you want to spend the money and it'll make you sleep better at night, by all means. S&S is a great company. They make good shit. Like, upgrade. But you don't have to, and I am not. So, you know, part of this channel, truck update every month until the engine dies. You know, when are we going to see my CP4 go? I don't know, but that's kind of, you know, we're on the ride to find out. So that's what we're doing, and it's not something that you have to do, but I was getting a lot of questions like, what are your plans for the CP4? Do you have a stock CP4? Truck has 237,000 miles on it. CP4 is still cranking along, so I'm gonna run it, but wanted to talk about that briefly, and I do appreciate you being here. It's nice to be visiting PTT with ARod. If you want a DCR or a disaster prevention kit, check him out. I know he's a busy man, but you know, get on that calendar because there's a line these days, isn't there?
Yeah, it is, and you know, I'm trying to accommodate everybody, but I am a one-man show right now, and until I can get somebody that can replicate exactly how and what I want done, there's going to be a wait.
Yeah,
and
you don't want to compromise your quality.
No.
So yeah.